My entitled sister, 30F, refused to leave my house after 6 months of free rent, claimed she owned it, and threatened to change the locks. So I legally destroyed her life using building codes and psychiatric evaluations. 4 months later, she's in supervised housing and we don't speak. Hi everyone! Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. Initial post. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am at 1 a.m., sitting in my home office while my sister Jennifer sleeps in what she now calls her room. 6 months ago, she showed up at my door with 2 suitcases and tears streaming down her face. Her relationship with her boyfriend of 3 years had imploded, and she needed somewhere to stay just for a few weeks while she got back on her feet. I'm Michael, 28, and I've worked my ass off since I was 16 to get where I am today. I bought my house 2 years ago, a modest 3-bedroom place in a decent neighborhood outside Philadelphia. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Every mortgage payment, every repair, every improvement has come from my pocket. I work as a software engineer, pulling in decent money, but I've sacrificed a lot to build the stability. Jennifer is 30, 2 years older than me, but you'd never know it from how she manages her life. She's bounced from job to job, relationship to relationship, always with some story about why things didn't work out. Our parents, Robert and Patricia, always made excuses for her. Jennifer just needs to find herself, they'd say. She's more of a free spirit than you, Michael. When she showed up that night in March, I couldn't turn her away. She's still my sister, despite everything. The guest room was just sitting there empty anyway. We agreed on simple terms. She could stay for a month, maybe 2 at most, while she found a new apartment and got her life together. No rent for the first month, then $400 a month after that if she needed more time. Well below market rate, but enough to cover the increased utilities and groceries. The first month passed without incident. Jennifer seemed grateful, kept to herself mostly, and talked about job interviews and apartment viewings. I even helped her update her resume and drove her to a few interviews. But then the excuses started. The apartment fell through. The job offer was rescinded. I just need a little more time to save up for a security deposit. By month 3, she'd stopped looking altogether. She'd found some remote freelance work that barely covered her personal expenses, declared it her career pivot, and started treating my home like her permanent residence. She redecorated the guest room without asking, moving my stored items to the garage. She started having friends over without checking with me first. She'd use my home office when I wasn't there, leaving her stuff everywhere. The $400 monthly rent? She paid it exactly once, in month 2, and acted like she was doing me a favor. I tried talking to her rationally. I showed her apartment listings, offered to help with a security deposit, even said I'd co-sign a lease if her credit was the issue. Each conversation ended the same way: tears, accusations that I was being heartless, and promises to figure something out soon. By month 4, she'd stopped pretending altogether. When I brought up the timeline we'd agreed on, she laughed. Actually laughed. "Come on, Michael," she said. "We're family. You can't seriously expect me to move out when you have all this space. It's not like you're using that room for anything else." That's when I realized this was never temporary in her mind. She'd found her latest mark, and it was me. I consulted a lawyer. Turns out, in Pennsylvania, she's established tenancy. I'd have to go through formal eviction proceedings, which could take months and cost thousands. The lawyer warned me it could get ugly, especially with family. Jennifer must have done her own research because she started throwing around terms like tenant rights and illegal eviction. Last week was the breaking point. I came home to find she'd given a key to her new boyfriend, Stephen. I found him in my kitchen at 1 a.m., making himself a sandwich. When I confronted Jennifer, she said I was being controlling and that she had every right to have guests in her home. Her home. That's when I decided conventional methods weren't going to work. If she wants to play games, I'll play better ones. I've spent the last week researching and planning. Pennsylvania law is specific about what landlords can and cannot do. But here's the thing, I'm not a landlord. This is my primary residence, and she's a guest who's overstayed her welcome. The rules are different, and the gray areas are vast. I've started documenting everything. Every interaction, every refusal to leave, every hostile action. But more importantly, I've started laying the groundwork for what's to come. Jennifer thinks she knows me, the quiet, responsible little brother who always follows the rules. She's about to learn that following the rules doesn't mean I can't be creative with them. The first phase starts tomorrow. I've already filed the paperwork for a formal notice to quit, but that's just for show. The real plan is much more sophisticated. You see, Jennifer made a crucial mistake when she started claiming ownership rights to her space. In Pennsylvania, there's something called a psychiatric hold that can be initiated when someone demonstrates delusional thinking that poses a risk to themselves or others. Claiming ownership of property that isn't yours, refusing to acknowledge reality, becoming aggressive when confronted with facts, these can all be concerning symptoms. I've been carefully documenting her increasingly erratic behavior. The late-night arguments where she screams that this is her house too. The times she's threatened to change the locks on her room. The instance where she told Stephen that she was thinking about having me evicted from my own home. All recorded, all documented, all painting a picture of someone losing touch with reality. But that's just one avenue. I've also discovered that the guest room's electrical circuit is separate from the rest of the house. The previous owner had it set up that way for some reason, probably had a teenager they wanted to control. The circuit breaker is clearly labeled, and there's nothing in the law that says I have to provide electricity to every room in my own home, especially when the person in that room isn't paying rent. The door to the guest room? It's mine. I have the receipt from Home Depot. If I want to remove my door from its hinges for maintenance, that's my prerogative. The law says I can't lock her out, but it says nothing about removing interior doors for repair. The Wi-Fi router? Also mine. Password's about to change. The bathroom she uses is technically the hall bathroom. Guess what needs extensive renovation suddenly? The main bathroom in my master bedroom works just fine for me. I sound cold, calculating even. Maybe I am. But Jennifer has pushed me to this point. She's taken my kindness for weakness, my family loyalty for unlimited tolerance. She thinks she can manipulate me the way she's manipulated our parents for years. She's wrong. Tomorrow begins what I'm calling the reconstruction. Every perfectly legal step designed to make her residence here untenable while building a case for her concerning mental state. I've already scheduled consultations with contractors for next week, all of whom will witness her erratic behavior when she realizes what's happening. The psychiatrist I've been seeing for stress related to family issues has been very concerned about the stories I've shared about her delusions and aggression. Some might say I'm going too far. But Jennifer crossed that line when she decided my home was hers for the taking. She wanted to play house? Fine. But it's my house, my rules, and my game now. I'll update you all once Phase 1 is complete. Wish me luck. Update 1. The 72-hour hold. It's been 1 week since my initial post, and I need to update you all on what's transpired. I'm writing this from my now peaceful home while Jennifer is in a psychiatric facility for a mandatory 72-hour hold. Let me explain how we got here. Day 1 of the reconstruction started at 6 a.m. I flipped the breaker for the guest room. Jennifer woke up around 9 to find her phone dead, her laptop uncharged, and her room without power. She stormed into my home office where I was working. "The power's out in my room," she announced. "Oh, that's strange," I said calmly. "I'll have to get an electrician to look at it. Might be a wiring issue. Could take weeks to get someone out here." She stared at me, and I could see the realization dawning. "You did this." "That's a serious accusation," I replied, pulling up my phone to record. "Are you saying I'm somehow controlling the electrical systems in the house? That sounds paranoid, Jennifer." She started screaming about how I couldn't do this, that she had rights. I kept my voice level, repeatedly asking if she was feeling okay, if she'd been taking any medications, if she was hearing voices telling her I was out to get her. Every question designed to sound concerned while documenting her increasingly unhinged responses. By noon, I'd removed the door to the guest room. When she discovered this, her reaction was everything I'd hoped for. She called the police, claiming I was illegally evicting her. 2 officers showed up, Officer Martinez and Officer Thompson. I met them at the door with a folder of documentation. "Officers, I'm so glad you're here," I said. "I'm deeply concerned about my sister. She's been having delusions about owning my home, and now she's claiming I'm persecuting her because I removed an interior door for maintenance." I showed them the receipts for the door, the documentation of her claims to own my property, the text messages where she'd threatened to change locks. Then I played them a recording from that morning where she screamed that the house was trying to attack her when the power went out. The officers were sympathetic but said it was a civil matter. However, they did note Jennifer's agitated state and suggested she stay with friends for a few days to cool off. She refused, stating this was her home, and she wasn't going anywhere. Day 2, I changed the Wi-Fi password. Jennifer's remote work came to a screeching halt. She tried to use her phone's hotspot, but her data plan couldn't handle the workload. She demanded the new password. I told her I'd discontinued internet service to save money since she wasn't contributing to bills. She could clearly see my devices were connected, but when she pointed this out, I expressed concern about her hallucinations. "Jennifer, my devices aren't connected to anything. Are you seeing things that aren't there? This is really worrying me." She tried to show me her phone seeking Wi-Fi networks, but I'd renamed mine to something innocuous. When she pointed at it, I said, "That's the neighbor's network." "Jennifer, you're really scaring me. You think the neighbor's Wi-Fi is mine? Have you been sleeping okay?" Day 3 was when I brought in the contractors. I'd scheduled 3 different companies to provide quotes for bathroom renovation. Each one, I made sure Jennifer was present. "We need to gut this bathroom completely," I told each contractor in front of her. "It'll be out of commission for at least 2 months. My sister here will need to make other arrangements." Jennifer's reaction to the third contractor was the catalyst. She completely lost it, screaming that I was trying to force her out, that this was her house too, that she'd sue me, that she'd have me arrested. The contractor, a man named James, looked genuinely concerned. "Ma'am, are you all right?" he asked. "He's trying to steal my house." Jennifer screamed. "This is my property. I own this place." James looked at me with alarm. I pulled him aside and explained that my sister had been having these delusions for weeks, that I was trying to get her help, but she refused treatment. He left quickly, but not before I got his contact information as a witness. Day 4, I played my masterstroke. I'd been in contact with a psychiatric crisis counselor through my therapist. I'd expressed my concerns about Jennifer's deteriorating mental state, her delusions of property ownership, her aggressive behavior, and my fear for both our safety. The counselor agreed to do a home visit. When Dr. Patricia Wilson arrived, Jennifer was already agitated from days of escalating stress. The moment Dr. Wilson introduced herself, Jennifer exploded. "He called a shrink on me? This is my house. I don't need evaluation. He's the one who's crazy. He's trying to gaslight me." Dr. Wilson calmly asked Jennifer to explain the situation. Jennifer's rambling response, claiming ownership of my house, insisting I was persecuting her, describing elaborate plots against her, sealed her fate. When Dr. Wilson asked to see any documentation of Jennifer's ownership or rental agreement, Jennifer couldn't provide anything. "But I live here. This is my room. I have rights." Dr. Wilson asked me to step outside while she spoke with Jennifer privately. 20 minutes later, she emerged with a grim expression. "Mr. Thompson, I'm recommending an involuntary psychiatric hold for your sister. She's exhibiting signs of severe delusional disorder and poses a potential risk. She's threatened to burn down the house if you try to remove her." I hadn't heard that threat, but I wasn't about to contradict the doctor. Within 2 hours, EMTs and police arrived. Jennifer's reaction was volcanic. She screamed that this was a conspiracy, that I'd stolen her home, that everyone was in on it. As they led her away, she looked at me with pure hatred. "You won't get away with this, Michael. Mom and Dad will know what you've done." And she was right about one thing. Our parents did find out, and their reaction was swift. They called me within hours of Jennifer being admitted. "Michael, what have you done?" My mother Patricia sobbed over the phone. "I got Jennifer the help she needs," I responded calmly. "She's been having delusions about owning my house. She threatened to burn it down." "She called us from the hospital," my father Robert said, his voice cold. "She sounds perfectly rational. You had her committed because she wouldn't move out." "Dad, she's been claiming she owns my house." "That's not rational. You manipulated this situation," he accused. "Jennifer told us about the power, the door, the contractors. You pushed her to this point." "I was renovating my own home," I said simply. Her reaction to normal homeowner activities was concerning enough for a professional to intervene. The conversation deteriorated from there. They called me heartless, calculating, evil. They said I'd weaponized the system against my own sister. They threatened to hire her a lawyer, to sue me, to have me investigated. But here's the thing, I did everything legally. Every step was carefully planned to stay within the bounds of the law. The psychiatric hold is based on the professional opinion of a licensed counselor. The documentation is real. The witnesses are credible. It's been 3 days since Jennifer was admitted. The 72-hour hold will be up tomorrow, but from what I understand, the facility is recommending extended treatment. Apparently, she's been exhibiting concerning behaviors there as well, insisting the staff are part of my conspiracy, refusing to acknowledge that she doesn't own my house. My parents haven't spoken to me since that initial call. I've received messages from various family members calling me a monster. Jennifer's boyfriend Stephen showed up at my door yesterday, demanding her belongings. I told him he could coordinate with the facility for her release and pickup of her items, but he wasn't entering my home. The house is quiet now. The guest room is empty, awaiting actual renovation. I've already started converting it into a home vault, a secure room for my valuables and important documents. It seems fitting somehow. Some might say I've lost my family over this. But the truth is, I lost them long ago when they decided Jennifer's comfort was worth more than my autonomy. This just made it official. Tomorrow, we find out if Jennifer will be released or held longer. Either way, she won't be coming back here. The locks have already been changed, and I have a restraining order ready to file if necessary. I'll update again once I know more. Update 2. The aftermath. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and the situation has escalated in ways I anticipated but hoped wouldn't happen. Jennifer's 72-hour hold was extended to a full 2-week evaluation after she attempted to assault a staff member who she claimed was working for Michael. She's been released now, but not to the outcome anyone expected. Let me back up and explain what happened during those 2 weeks. The psychiatric facility contacted me on day 4 of Jennifer's hold. Dr. Kevin Harrison, the psychiatrist assigned to her case, wanted to discuss family history and dynamics. I went in prepared with documentation, emails, texts, recordings, everything painting a clear picture of Jennifer's escalating delusions and refusal to accept reality. "Mr. Thompson," Dr. Harrison said after reviewing everything, "while your sister's behavior is certainly concerning, I have to ask, did you orchestrate this situation?" "I don't know what you mean," I replied carefully. "The timing of your renovations, the electrical issues, the documentation. It seems very coordinated." "Doctor, I'm a software engineer. I document everything by nature. When my sister started claiming ownership of my property, I naturally became more vigilant about record-keeping. As for the renovations, I've been planning them for months. Here are emails with contractors from before Jennifer even moved in. I'd created those backdated emails, of course. One of the benefits of controlling your own email server." Dr. Harrison studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "Your sister is exhibiting signs of what we call delusional disorder, mixed type. She genuinely believes she owns your house and that you've stolen it from her. When confronted with evidence to the contrary, she becomes aggressive and constructs elaborate conspiracy theories." Meanwhile, my parents had hired a lawyer, Barbara Chen, who showed up at my door with a cease and desist letter. She claimed I'd illegally evicted Jennifer and demanded I allow her to return immediately. "Ms. Chen," I said, handing her my own lawyer's card, "Jennifer was never a tenant. She was a guest who became delusional and threatening. A psychiatric professional determined she needed help. If you'd like to discuss this further, please contact my attorney, Charles Mitchell." Charles was expensive but worth every penny. He'd already prepared a comprehensive defense package, including affidavits from the contractors who witnessed Jennifer's outbursts, Officer Martinez's report noting her agitated state, and Dr. Wilson's professional assessment. The real drama came when Jennifer was released. The facility couldn't hold her indefinitely, but they also couldn't release her to homelessness. My parents, living in their retirement community in Florida, refused to take her in. "We're too old for this drama," my father told the social worker. "Jennifer needs to figure this out herself." But they were still furious with me. My mother called me crying, saying I destroyed Jennifer's life over a room. I reminded her that Jennifer had 6 months to find alternative housing and chose not to. "You don't understand mental illness, Michael," she sobbed. "I understand manipulation," I replied. "Jennifer's been doing it her whole life, and you've enabled her." That ended the conversation. Jennifer ended up in a supervised transitional housing facility, a halfway house, essentially. She had to agree to continued psychiatric treatment and medication compliance as a condition of residence. The social worker called to ask if I'd be willing to bring her belongings. I had everything professionally packed and delivered. Every single item she'd brought into my home, plus things she'd purchased while here. I even included a check for the security deposit she'd claimed she couldn't save, $2,000, enough for first month's rent and deposit on a modest apartment. My lawyer advised against it, but I wanted to remove any last excuse she might have. The backlash from extended family was swift and brutal. My Aunt Linda called me a sociopath. My cousin Anthony said I'd weaponized the system against a vulnerable woman. My Uncle Joseph wrote a long Facebook post about how family doesn't do this to family, which got dozens of sympathetic comments and angry reactions directed at me. I posted my own response. Not on Facebook, but in a detailed letter I sent to every family member who'd reached out. Jennifer lived rent-free in my home for 6 months. She refused to leave when asked. She claimed ownership of my property. She threatened me and became violent when confronted with reality. I sought professional help for someone exhibiting delusional behavior. If protecting my home and my safety makes me a villain in your eyes, then so be it. Only one person responded positively, my cousin Sarah, who'd apparently gone through something similar with her brother years ago. Sometimes, she wrote, the kindest thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's destructive behavior. Meanwhile, I continued with the renovation. The guest room is now completely transformed. I installed a reinforced door with a digital lock, built custom shelving for important documents, and added a small fireproof safe. It's become my private sanctuary, a place where I keep everything that matters to me secure. Stephen, Jennifer's boyfriend, tried to start trouble. He showed up drunk one night, banging on my door, yelling about how I destroyed Jennifer's life. I called the police immediately. He was arrested for public intoxication and trespassing. I got a restraining order the next day. But the most interesting development came from an unexpected source. Dr. Harrison called me last week with Jennifer's permission. She'd been making progress in treatment, he said, and part of her therapy involved acknowledging reality and making amends. She'd like to apologize, he said. I was skeptical but agreed to a phone call under supervision. Jennifer's voice was different, smaller, more subdued. Michael, I'm sorry. I know now that it's your house. I was just so scared of being homeless that I convinced myself it was mine too. The doctors have helped me see that I was wrong. It sounded rehearsed, therapeutic. But I responded politely. I appreciate the apology, Jennifer. I hope you get the help you need. The facility is helping me apply for disability benefits, she continued, for my mental health issues. Once that's approved, I can get my own apartment with subsidized housing. So there was an angle. That's good, Jennifer. I wish you the best. Michael, the check you sent. Thank you. But I need a co-signer for an apartment. My credit is shot, and Mom and Dad won't. I cut her off. Jennifer, I can't do that. You need to build your independence without relying on family to bail you out. The facility has resources to help you. The call ended shortly after that. Dr. Harrison later told me that Jennifer had been upset, but that it was good for her to hear boundaries being maintained. That was a week ago. Since then, I've learned that Jennifer has been placed in a longer-term supportive housing program. She has her own small studio apartment with on-site case management and mandatory therapy sessions. The rent is subsidized based on her income, which currently comes from temporary disability payments while her permanent application is processed. My parents have slowly started speaking to me again, though our relationship is strained. They visited Jennifer in her new place and were shocked by how small and basic it was. She's living in poverty because of you, my mother accused during our last phone call. She's living independently for the first time in her life, I corrected, with professional support to help her maintain that independence. The extended family remains divided. Some still think I'm a monster who had his sister institutionalized over a housing dispute. Others have quietly reached out to say they understand why I did what I did, even if they wouldn't have had the courage to do it themselves. As for me, I'm at peace with my decisions. My home is mine again. The vault room is complete, and there's something poetic about transforming the space that almost became my prison into my most secure sanctuary. I've started therapy myself, not for stress or guilt, but to understand how I allowed the situation to get so bad before taking action. Dr. Susan Miller, my therapist, has helped me recognize the patterns of enablement in our family and my own tendency to avoid conflict until it becomes unbearable. You went from zero to nuclear, she observed during our last session. There might have been middle ground. Maybe, I admitted. But middle ground assumes the other person is operating in good faith. Jennifer wasn't. She couldn't argue with that. I'll do one more update in a few months to let you know how everything settles. But for now, I'm focusing on my work, my home, and rebuilding my life without the chaos Jennifer brought into it. The house is quiet. Peaceful. Mine. Exactly as it should be. Final update. 4 months later. This will be my final update on this situation. It's been 4 months since Jennifer was placed in supportive housing, and I wanted to provide closure for those who followed this story. The transformation has been remarkable, not just in my living situation, but in the entire family dynamic. Jennifer is still in her supervised housing program, and according to the limited information I received through my parents, she's actually doing better than she has in years. She's holding down a part-time job at a local library, attending therapy twice a week, and has been medication compliant for the entire 4 months. Last month, she sent me a letter. Not an email or text, but an actual handwritten letter. My therapist encouraged me to read it. Michael, I've been doing a lot of work in therapy, and one of the things I need to do is take accountability without expecting forgiveness. So this isn't about you forgiving me or us reconciling. This is about me acknowledging what I did. I tried to steal your home. Not legally, but emotionally and practically. I took advantage of your kindness, and when you tried to set boundaries, I pushed harder. I made you the villain in my story because it was easier than admitting I was responsible for my own situation. Dr. Harrison says I've been doing this my whole life, creating situations where other people have to save me, then resenting them for the very help I demanded. You broke that cycle, and while I hated you for it at the time, I understand now that you might have saved my life. I'm learning to save myself now. It's hard. Some days I want to call Mom and Dad and beg them to rescue me. But I don't. I go to work, I go to therapy, I take my medication, and I live within my means for the first time in my adult life. I don't expect a response. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand what you did and why you did it. Jennifer. I haven't responded. I'm not ready for that, and I may never be. But I kept the letter in my vault room, a reminder that sometimes the hardest choices lead to necessary outcomes. The family dynamics have shifted dramatically. My parents visited last month, their first visit since the incident. They stayed in a hotel, which was telling. The visit was awkward but civil. My mother toured the renovated vault room and made a comment about it being very secure. It needs to be, I replied simply. My father pulled me aside later. Your mother won't say it, but we understand now. Jennifer needed more help than we could give her. We enabled her for too long. You did what you thought was best, I offered. No, he said firmly. We did what was easiest. There's a difference. The extended family has largely moved on to other dramas. My Aunt Linda still won't speak to me, but that's fine. My cousin Sarah and I have actually become closer. She's one of the few people who truly understands what I went through. The house has become everything I wanted it to be. The vault room is fully operational, containing all my important documents, some precious items that belong to my grandparents, and my growing collection of rare coins, a hobby I've taken up in my newfound peace. The bathroom renovation is complete, and I've even started on the kitchen. Stephen, Jennifer's ex-boyfriend, violated the restraining order 2 months ago. He was arrested and spent a week in jail. I haven't heard from him since. Jennifer apparently broke up with him after learning he'd been harassing me, another sign of her improving judgment. The most surprising development came from my work. My boss, David, pulled me aside last month. Michael, I don't know what's changed, but your performance has been exceptional lately. You seem more focused, more confident. I'd eliminated a major source of stress from my life, but I simply said, I've been working on setting better boundaries in all areas of my life. He promoted me to senior software engineer with a 20% raise. The extra income has allowed me to accelerate my mortgage payments. At this rate, I'll own my home outright in 10 years instead of 28. Dr. Miller, my therapist, and I have reduced our sessions to once a month. Our last conversation was particularly enlightening. You know, Michael, most people wouldn't have been able to do what you did. The planning, the execution, the absolute commitment to protecting yourself, it's remarkable. Some would say it's sociopathic, I replied. Some would be wrong, she said. A sociopath wouldn't have sent that check or ensured Jennifer's belongings were carefully packed and delivered. You protected yourself while still ensuring she had what she needed to start over. That's strategic, not sociopathic. I've thought about that a lot. The line between self-protection and cruelty is thin, and I walked it carefully. Every move was calculated, yes, but the calculation included ensuring Jennifer got help, even if it wasn't the help she wanted. A few weeks ago, I ran into an old family friend, Margaret, at the grocery store. She'd heard about everything through the family grapevine. That was quite ruthless, what you did to your sister, she said. Yes, I agreed. It was. She seemed surprised by my lack of defensiveness. You don't regret it? I regret that it was necessary. I don't regret doing it. She nodded slowly. Your grandmother would have understood. She always said you had her backbone. My grandmother had been the only person in our family who'd never enabled Jennifer's behavior. She died 5 years ago, but I think she would have approved of my methods, if not the necessity of them. As I write this final update, I'm sitting in my home office, truly mine now, with no concern about Jennifer using it in my absence. The house is quiet except for the hum of my computer and the occasional sound of my cat, Schrödinger. Yes, I got a cat, another thing I couldn't do with Jennifer here, as she claimed to be allergic. The vault room stands as a monument to boundaries enforced and space reclaimed. It's not just physically secure but symbolically important, a reminder that I have the right and the ability to protect what's mine. Jennifer and I will probably never have a relationship again. Our parents are trying to bridge that gap, but I've made it clear that any reconciliation would require years of consistent behavior change on Jennifer's part, and even then, she will never be welcome in my home again. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt and shouldn't be. For those reading this who might be in similar situations, here's what I've learned. 1. Document everything from day one. Even if you never need it, it's better to have it. 2. Know your local laws inside and out. The difference between legal and illegal can be razor thin. 3. Be prepared to lose relationships. Not everyone will understand or support protecting yourself. 4. If you're going to war, don't half-ass it. Complete commitment to your course of action is essential. 5. Ensure your actions, while aggressive, include provisions for the other person's basic needs. It's the difference between protection and cruelty. 6. Get therapy. Even if you think you don't need it, processing these experiences with a professional is invaluable. Some have called me calculating, cold, even evil. Others have called me brave, strategic, and inspiring. I'm probably all of these things and none of them. I'm just a man who refused to let his home be stolen, his kindness be weaponized, and his life be held hostage by someone else's dysfunction. The house is mine. The peace is mine. The future is mine. And that's exactly how it should be. This is Michael, signing off. Thank you to everyone who offered support, criticism, and perspective throughout this journey. May you never need to use my playbook, but if you do, may you execute it flawlessly. The vault room door closes with a satisfying click, secure, protected, and completely under my control.